Okay, so check out the new Giant Trance E Alloy. This is the latest e-MTB from Giant. So Blake's had it for about a month. He's been just first impression, so we're going to run through some of the hit takes. Blake, start up. Hit us with the facts and details about this bike.
So we've got a 150mm fork on there, 140mm of travel out the rear. Giant obviously sticking with the Maestro system, it's tried and true. Very, very stable platform in the rear, considering it is a big bopper heavy e-bike. Not a lot of travel in the rear, which people might seem like, oh, if I'm on an e-bike, I might as well go all the travel that I want. But I have noticed that this is the shortest travel e-bike that I've ridden now, and I came off of a very, very long travel e-bike just before this. The thing is so nimble and so playful compared to your much longer, it's like comparing a trail bike to an enduro bike essentially. But yeah, so it might not tickle everybody's fancy, but if you're riding a shorter travel regular bike now, don't think that, automatically I'm just gonna go to a longer travel full-size e-bike.
That's it. So Giant have got the Rain E Plus as well in the range, which is that enduro bike. We see Josh Carlson race national champs and won recently. But the Trance is more of a do-it-all, jack-of-all-trades e-bike. It's more of like an all-day riding bike. So Blake, one of the things I noticed first off about the Trance when it arrived at the office is this built-in LCD display monitor. But also it's got a new motor and a few other things going on there, a bit more power than we've seen from Yamaha before. Tell us a bit about some of those things.
Absolutely. So this is a new motor from Yamaha. Yamaha obviously making all of Giant's e-bike motors. So we've got 85 Newton meters worth of power. We've got a 750 watt hour battery, so this thing will last longer than you will, guaranteed. And the way that Giant have integrated their little battery display and the on-off button, as well as their little control lever up on the handlebars, is super, super sleek. Very, very minimal. It doesn't have a screen. We don't have an exact percentage of how much battery we've got left, but to be honest, for me, that's overkill. I don't need to know how many percent I've got left. We've got 6 bars worth of indicator. That's more than enough for me. Very, very nice, minimal, sleek. 3 buttons up here on the handlebar to scroll through our power modes.
All right, so let's talk a little about the frame. We actually saw the Trance E Plus come out with the Advanced or the carbon fiber model late last year. They didn't have an alloy at that time, so a lot of those tweaks and advances we saw on that bike has been filtered down to this guy. Obviously, alloy is going to be a bit of a better price point, or a more affordable price point, should I say. But there's still plenty going on here. We've got adjustable geo, a slick frame throughout. Tell us a bit about the frame and how it handles.
Absolutely. So obviously, we've got the same silhouette as the carbon Advanced frames. So you'd be hard pressed if you didn't know exactly what you were looking at. Maybe you did go the carbon. But we've got a little flip chip, high and a low, at the top of the rocker link here. So obviously that's going to either raise or lower our bottom bracket and naturally slacken out or steepen up our head angle slightly. That's the only adjustable feature on this bike, but to be honest, it's enough. You know what I mean? Like Giant have done very, very well with introducing this new model into the longer, lower, slacker sort of design that everybody's going for. And yeah, for the travel of bike, I found the geometry to be very, very playful. It's still nice and long, like it's still stable enough at high speeds, as you'll see in the video. Like we're not just riding sort of flowy single track. We're giving it some serious berries over some features and putting it to its limits, and it's taking it all in its stride.
So Blake, obviously you've only had the bike a little bit, you're still kind of getting the setup just dialed, but can you tell us, like from the first few rides you've had, what kind of rider is really going to get the most out of this Trance, and what kind of rider is going to be wanting to maybe go for a Trance rather than a big Rain? Not so to bite off so much food on their plate. What sort of rider is this bike going to hit? Absolutely.
So one thing that I always try and advise people when looking at, between a mid or a long travel bike or a short travel bike, is you need to look at the type of trails that you ride the most often, whether that's your local trails or the trails that you have to jump in the car and drive to for 20 minutes. Whatever bike is going to suit those trails the best is the type of bike that you should lean towards. So if you've got sort of, big burly downhill tracks just outside your door, then yeah, maybe you do want to go for something a little bit longer travel. But if you've got a trail network where there is still quite a lot of pedaling around involved, maybe there's as much climbing as there is descending, it's probably definitely worth looking at something a little bit shorter travel, something a little bit steeper maybe, because if you're not reaping the benefits of having a 62-degree head angle everywhere, then you're just making life a bit harder for yourself. So it can be in part the rider, but also most of the trails that you're riding at on the bike. So
totally. So that's really where the Trance E just sort of slots in perfectly within Giant's new 122 range.
100%.
So that's Blake's first impressions. We're going to be holding on to this bike for a couple more months, and we've got plenty of adventures planned, so stay tuned to revolution.com.au for plenty more, and check out the new issue of Evolution, which will be on sale in the next month or so, for a full wrap up and trail notes on the exciting new Trance E Plus from Giant.